Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my January book haul for you. I feel like I actually did a pretty good job not buying books this month. Well, obviously I still bought books this month, but I feel like I've been lately a little bit more mindful about the books that I buy and the books that I read. Last year I did like a no spend and it didn't quite work out because the pandemic hit and everything went to shit. But I also feel like I learned something from it still about what I buy, what I consume, what brings me joy and all that. So I still have quite a few books to show you today, but I'm feeling really good about all of them. There's nothing that I bought because it was on sale or because I thought the cover was pretty or because everyone was talking about it. All of these I bought because I want to read them quite soon, actually. A lot of these I'm like, I wish I could pick them up right now. First two books are ones that I bought for Roxane Gay's Audacious Book Club, which I talk about literally all the time. I feel like there's not been one video where I haven't mentioned it. The first one is Black Futures, which is kind of like a zine, but in like a giant hardcover version. It's got like poetry, music, art, interviews. I've already read this, obviously. I've tabbed a couple bits that I want to go back to. In my reading journal, I made like a list of names and stuff that I wanted to look up. And it's kind of funny because in the introduction by the editors, Kimberley, Drew, and Jenna Wortham, they actually say like, read this with your phone beside you because you're probably going to want to look a bunch of stuff up, and we would recommend looking a lot of stuff up if you're not familiar with it. And that's exactly what I did. I think it's also a good change from a lot of the books that I would tend to pick up about race. A lot of them are addressing white people and what they can do and the facts that they need to be a proper ally. And while I'm still going to continue reading stuff like that, something like this is really nice because it gives you a look into Black joy as well as the discrimination that they go through. It's also something that I could tell when I was reading it wasn't addressed to a white person. This book is by and for Black people. And that's just another reason why I think someone like me, a white person, would benefit from picking this up as well. And then I also picked up Detransition Baby by Torrey. This is the February book for the Audacious Book Club, and it follows three people. I think two of them are trans women, and one of them has decided to detransition back to live their life as a man. And I was a little bit scared to read this, and I still haven't read it yet, but I saw Josh from Josh's Bookish Voyage. I recently discovered his channel, and he talked about this, and he said that he really enjoyed it. And basically he was saying that, like, even though he is a cis man, that he thought it was really well done. And so I'm more and more looking forward to reading this for Roxane Gay's book club, because at first I was kind of scared that the narrative of trans women detransitioning was a little bit scary, because I think when it comes to stuff like that, as we've seen with like J.K. Rowling discourse and TERF discourse and all that, that can be, that has to be done in kind of a very specific way. And I also don't know the author's gender identity, so kind of scared me a little bit, but from what I've heard, it's very good. So I am a little less scared to read this, although I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And then I picked up another addition to my Word Cloud Classics collection, which is behind me on my shelf there. I picked up Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This is one that I didn't think I was interested in, but I'm getting more and more interested in like classic Gothic literature, because Frankenstein is one of my favorites. And so I've heard that this one is like very classic Gothic literature as well, so I do have an interest in reading it. And I also collect these Word Cloud Classic editions, which are just like beautiful, beautiful, beautiful editions. These two I picked up, so it's Under the Udala Trees by Chinela, Okparanta. I really should have looked up how to pronounce the author's names before I read these. Then I also picked up Speak No Evil by Uzodinma Iweala. Maybe I got it right. And the reason I'm showing these two at once is because I've had these on my list for quite some time. When I was in my 4th year of my undergrad, I was supposed to take, well, I had signed up to take a course about African queer literature. And unfortunately the class got canceled, which still boggles my mind that like they couldn't find another prof to fill in for this prof because they had to end up going on like medical leave or something. And like you can't find another Black queer prof to teach the course. It kind of gets on my nerve. But ever since, I've had these on my to read list because I still wanted to kind of tackle a couple titles that were on that syllabus. So Under the Udala Trees is a story that takes place in Nigeria. I think eventually it takes place in America as well. I'm not positive, but it's about 2 girls who fall in love in Nigeria and how they have to like hide that love, obviously. This is also a queer African lit book, but I believe this takes place in Washington. Yeah. And it follows a boy and a girl and how they're both queer and how their friendship is and how they support each other, and how I believe the boy is found out by his family who kick him out. So it's about that as well. These are actually 2 books that I would like to read like right now, and if I could just like devour them both right now, I totally would. I picked up this one because you'll see in a second. It is so beautiful. It's Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde, who is obviously a very famous Black lesbian poet, and this is the Penguin Vitae, I don't know how to say that, it's probably Latin, edition, and I think it's so beautiful. Obviously it's a collection of essays by Audre Lorde talking about Black feminist theory. I actually started reading this. I basically only read the introduction, which is not even by Audre Lorde, but this is something that I'm also hoping to pick up quite soon. I also picked up Frying Plantain by Zalika Reid-Benta. It takes place in Jamaica and Toronto, I want to say, or just in Toronto, but the main character is, their family is from Jamaica. And this is basically just about, like, Toronto's Ellington West neighborhood, it says, about how a girl goes from like childhood to adulthood as a Black Jamaican woman living in Toronto, living in Canada. I feel like it was also up for like a Canadian Writing Award at some point, but I can't remember which one it was. But one of my 2021 reading goals is to read more diverse Canadian authors. So this is kind of part of that. Next, we'll show these 2 together as well. I got Every Heart a Doorway and Across the Green Grass Fields by Seanan McGuire. These are both the first and the most recent book of the Wayward Children series. I didn't have a physical copy of Every Heart a Doorway, and I've actually kind of been itching to reread it. I originally read it from the library, so I picked that up. Across the Green Grass Fields is the most recent one in that series, and I've already read this. And if you want to see my thoughts before my January wrap-up goes up, I did a reading vlog where I read this, where you can see me talk about it. The next book I picked up was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. This I picked up because it was a bargain book, but I recently binge watched a bunch of My Name is Marina's videos, and she loves this book, and I loved the way that she presented it. It's basically like, I want to call it a sci-fi novel, but I don't really know that Hank Green would call it a sci-fi novel. But it's about this woman, and she comes across the statue one day and decides to take a picture of it and post it on the internet and names it Carl. And then overnight she becomes basically viral, and a bunch of people have realized that these Carl statues that they're now calling them have popped up like everywhere in the world. When it first came out, I wasn't really interested, but now that I've heard really good things, I'm actually very interested in reading this. As I said, like all of these, the ones that I haven't read, I'm like, I want to read them right now. Then I also picked up Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This is a horror novel, is that right? It's like dark, and I don't know if it's a thriller or a historical fiction or a horror. It might be all of those things. I genuinely have no idea what this book is about, but every time I see people talk about it, I'm like, ooh, I gotta read that. So I picked it up. I don't know when I'm gonna get to this, but I knew I had to have it. And I also like, this is gonna sound crazy because it's so generic looking, but I love this cover. I'm kind of obsessed with it. And the last book I picked up, I've already read as well. I picked up Lore by Alexandra Bracken and basically immediately read it. This is basically a YA novel about, it kind of surrounds Greek mythology, and it's basically about like how these Greek gods have like fallen and how they're rebirthed through their mortal descendants. And every 7 years there's this game where you have the chance, if you're a descendant, you have the chance to kill a god and basically take them over. And then the main character is a teen, and her family was killed in the last game, and she's kind of wanted to distance herself from it, but then she finds herself like wrapped up in all of it. You'll hear more about it in my January wrap up. It was just okay. It wasn't my favorite. I think though that my teenage self would have loved this book, but 24-year-old self thought it was just okay. Those are all the books that I bought in January. Some of them I bought, I think, at the end of December, but like same thing. And I've already read some of them, so that's even better. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know, especially let me know if you've read Detransition Baby, because I'm very interested to hear about it from a trans person that's read it and what they thought about it. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know how I feel about it, but we'll see. You'll probably hear about that in my February wrap-up, since it's the February pick for the Audacious Book Club. But that's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like this video on your way out and hit subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next time, probably for a January wrap-up.